The tension didn't just build quietly. It exploded. And this time, it wasn't about a missed shot or a bad call. It was the crowd that stole the spotlight in one of the most uncomfortable moments we've seen this season. If you thought tennis crowds were always calm and respectful, think again. Because what unfolded recently on clay in Rome felt less like a tennis match and more like a battleground of emotions, noise, and pure frustration. It all started during a match that, on paper, seemed fairly routine. Barbora Krejcikova was facing Elsa Jackmot at the Italian Open. A straightforward contest, right? Not even close. From early in the second set, something felt off. The rhythm wasn't there. The flow of the match kept getting interrupted. And it wasn't because of the players, it was coming from the stands. At 3-3 during a crucial service game, Krejcikova was trying to hold her composure. She was mid-serve, fully focused, when sudden noise cut through the silence. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Imagine trying to execute a precise serve at the highest level, where every millisecond matters, and someone whistles or shouts right as you toss the ball. That's exactly what she was dealing with. And what made it even worse? It wasn't just one person. Krejcikova walked up to the umpire, clearly frustrated but still composed enough to explain the situation. She pointed out something that made the entire situation even more chaotic. It seems like it's a different person every time. That one sentence tells you everything. This wasn't a single heckler being dealt with. This was a rotating wave of interruptions, coming from different sections of the crowd, making it nearly impossible to control. The umpire tried. Warnings were issued. Requests for silence echoed through the stadium. But nothing worked. The whistling continued. The noise returned during key points. And slowly, you could see the frustration building on Krejcikova's face. Every service game became a mental battle. Not just against her opponent, but against the crowd itself. And then came the breaking point. After winning a tense game at 30-30, Krejcikova had enough. She turned toward the stands, emotion written all over her face, and told them exactly what she felt. Shut up. No filter. No hesitation. Just raw, honest frustration. It was one of those rare moments where you see the human side of a professional athlete. Someone pushed beyond their limit in an environment that's supposed to be controlled and fair. But here's the twist. Despite everything, the noise, the interruptions, the mental pressure, Krejcikova didn't collapse. She didn't lose control of the match. She won. 6-2, 6-4. A straight sets victory in a match that lasted nearly 2 hours. And it wasn't just about winning, it was about surviving the chaos. She saved 9 out of 10 break points on her serve. Think about that for a second. Under constant disruption, she managed to hold her nerve in the most pressure-filled moments. That's not just skill. That's resilience. And now, her reward? A second-round showdown with none other than Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1. On paper, it's a tough matchup. Sabalenka leads their head-to-head 6-1. But after what Krejcikova just went through, you have to wonder, could that battle with the crowd actually prepare her for something even bigger? Because here's the bigger issue. This isn't just about one match. It's not even just about one tournament. This is becoming a pattern. And if you rewind the clock, you'll see that we've been here before. At the Davis Cup finals last year, Pablo Carreño Busta found himself in a similar situation. Facing Matteo Berrettini in front of a heavily partisan Italian crowd, the atmosphere quickly turned hostile. Fans were cheering mid-rally, celebrating points before they were even finished. Crossed a line. Carreño Busta, clearly frustrated, eventually struck the umpire's chair in a moment that summed up the tension perfectly. And now, almost a year later, we're seeing echoes of that same energy. But it doesn't stop in Rome. Back in 2022 at the Naples Cup, things got ugly when Lorenzo Sonego was losing to Sebastian Baez. Instead of supporting the match respectfully, sections of the crowd turned disruptive, booing, shouting, and interfering with play. Fans online even compared the behavior to football crowds, suggesting that some spectators were bringing the wrong kind of energy into a sport that relies heavily on silence and concentration. And it's not just Italy. In Madrid, during the Grand Prix Open Comunidad de Madrid Challenge, Things spiraled out of control during a match between Toby Samuel and Joel Joseph Schwarzler. The situation escalated so much that officials had to step in directly. Referees didn't just issue warnings. They physically intervened with members of the crowd. That's how intense it became. And then there's one of the most bizarre incidents we've seen recently. At a challenger event in Rome, Nerman Fatic was facing Sang-Chun Hsin in a tightly contested match. Everything was normal until it wasn't. Sang played a delicate drop shot. The ball clipped the net and died instantly on Fatic's side. A lucky bounce. Nothing unusual in tennis. But the crowd reacted loudly. And that reaction changed everything. Fatic, already tense, interpreted the noise as something more. Maybe mockery. Maybe disrespect. In a split second, emotions took over. He launched the ball high into the air in frustration, then turned toward the stands and started walking toward a specific spectator. Now we're no longer talking about tennis. We're talking about confrontation. The umpire immediately stepped in, shouting calma, and even climbing down from the chair to prevent things from escalating further. For about 30 seconds, it felt like anything could happen. A direct exchange between player and spectator. Heated words. Raw emotion. Eventually, officials managed to calm things down and guide Fatic back to the court. The match continued, but the moment lingered, because it highlighted something deeper. Tennis is changing, or at least the environment around it is. This is a sport built on precision, focus, and silence. Unlike football or basketball, where noise is part of the game, tennis demands a different kind of respect from the crowd. Timing matters. Concentration matters. Even a split-second distraction can change the outcome of a point. And yet, we're seeing more and more moments where that unwritten rule is being ignored. So the question is, why? Is it passion? Is it home support taken too far? Or is it a shift in how fans experience live sports? Because let's be honest, atmosphere is important. Energy from the crowd can elevate a match, can create unforgettable moments. But there's a line. And right now, that line feels blurred. What happened to Krejcikova wasn't just frustrating. It was unfair. Not because crowds shouldn't support players, but because the disruption crossed into interference. And when interference becomes part of the match, it raises serious questions about fairness. Can players truly compete on equal terms if one is constantly dealing with external distractions? And more importantly, what can be done about it? Umpires can issue warnings. Officials can try to identify individuals. But when the noise comes from multiple sources, from different parts of the stadium, it becomes almost impossible to control. It turns into a collective problem. One that the sport might need to address more seriously moving forward. Because if these incidents continue, they risk changing the very nature of tennis. And not necessarily for the better. Still, there's something powerful about how players respond to these situations. Krejcikova didn't just complain. She fought through it. She adapted. She stayed mentally strong. And she found a way to win. That's what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about frustration. It's about resilience in the face of chaos. And as she prepares to face Sabalenka, you can't help but feel like she's already passed a different kind of test. A test of patience, of focus, of mental strength. So now we turn it over to you. Do you think crowd behavior is becoming a serious problem in tennis? Or is this just part of the sport evolving with more passionate fans? And where should the line be drawn? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Because this conversation is far from over, and the future of the sport might just depend on it.